Today's Mind Expansion Daily Fun Fact subject is the radical views of AOC. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, often referred to as AOC, has become a polarizing figure in American politics since her unexpected 2018 primary victory over a long-standing Democratic incumbent in New York's 14th congressional district. At just 29 years old, she became the youngest woman ever elected to Congress, bringing with her a set of ideas that many have labeled as radical. Her views, rooted in democratic socialism, have sparked intense debate, drawing both fervent support from progressives and sharp criticism from conservatives and even some moderates within her own party. This article delves into the core of AOC's radical views, examining their origins, their impact, and the broader implications for American politics as of April 1, 2025. The roots of AOC's radicalism. AOC's political ideology was shaped by her upbringing and early experiences. Born in the Bronx to a Puerto Rican mother and a father who ran a small business, she witnessed firsthand the disparities in opportunity between her family and her cousins, largely due to differences in their zip codes. This early exposure to inequality left a lasting impression, fueling her commitment to addressing systemic issues. After graduating from Boston University with degrees in economics and international relations, she worked as a bartender and activist, further grounding her perspective in the struggles of the working class. Her involvement in Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential campaign and her time at Standing Rock protesting a pipeline solidified her resolve to pursue public service with a focus on transformative change. AOC has openly embraced the label of radical, a term she redefines as a badge of honor rather than an insult. In a 2019 interview on 60 Minutes, she stated, "It only has ever been radicals that have changed this country," citing historical figures like Abraham Lincoln and Franklin Delano Roosevelt as examples of leaders who enacted bold, transformative policies. She argues that radicalism is about addressing the root causes of societal problems, whether economic inequality, climate change, or racial injustice, rather than settling for incremental solutions that maintain the status quo. Core radical views. AOC's policy positions are often described as far-left, particularly by critics who see them as impractical or extreme. However, her supporters argue that these ideas resonate with a growing number of Americans disillusioned with traditional politics. Here are some of her most prominent radical views. 1. The Green New Deal. One of AOC's flagship proposals, introduced shortly after she took office in 2019, is the Green New Deal. This resolution envisions a 10-year national mobilization to combat climate change by transitioning the U.S. to 100% renewable energy, creating millions of unionized jobs, and addressing economic and racial inequalities in the process. Critics have called it unrealistic, pointing to the massive costs and logistical challenges, but AOC counters that the cost of inaction, both environmental and social, is far greater. The proposal has shifted the Overton window, making climate action a central issue in democratic politics and inspiring global movements. 2. Medicare for all. AOC is a vocal advocate for Medicare for all, a single-payer healthcare system that would provide universal coverage to all Americans. She argues that healthcare is a human right and that the current system, which leaves millions uninsured or underinsured, is morally indefensible. This stance has drawn ire from moderates who favor more incremental reforms, as well as from conservatives who label it as socialism. Yet, AOC points to public support. Polls in recent years have shown growing approval for universal healthcare, as evidence that her position is not as radical as critics claim. 3. Economic justice and wealth taxes. AOC has consistently called for higher taxes on the ultra-wealthy to fund social programs. In 2019, she proposed a 70% marginal tax rate on incomes over $10 million, a policy that garnered significant public support, with polls showing 59% of voters in favor. She argues that extreme wealth inequality, comparable to levels seen in the 1920s, requires bold action, not timid adjustments. Critics, however, contend that such measures could stifle economic growth, though AOC counters that the mid-20th century, a period of high marginal tax rates, was also a time of robust economic expansion and a thriving middle class. 4. Abolishing ICE and immigration reform. AOC's call to abolish the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) agency has been one of her most controversial positions. She views ICE as a symbol of a broken immigration system that dehumanizes migrants, often separating families and detaining individuals in inhumane conditions. Instead, She advocates for a path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants and a reimagining of border policies to prioritize humanitarian needs. This stance has been met with fierce opposition from conservatives, with some even alleging in 2025 that she is under investigation for impeding immigration law, a claim she has denied. 5. Federal Jobs Guarantee and Labor Rights. AOC supports a federal jobs guarantee, which would ensure that every American who wants to work has access to a well-paying job, often tied to infrastructure or green energy projects. She also champions a living wage, arguing that a full-time job should provide enough income to live on. These ideas, while popular among progressives, are often dismissed by critics as economically unfeasible, though AOC points to historical precedents like the New Deal as proof of their viability. Impact and reception. AOC's radical views have had a profound impact on American politics, both in terms of policy discourse and public perception. Her ability to leverage social media, evidenced by her viral Twitch streams in 2020, which raised $200,000 for charity, has made her a cultural phenomenon, often drawing more attention than even presidential candidates. Between July 8 and 14, 2019, she garnered 4.8 million interactions with news articles, far surpassing any Democratic presidential candidate at the time. This visibility has amplified her ideas, bringing once fringe concepts like democratic socialism into the mainstream. However, her prominence has also made her a lightning rod for criticism. Conservatives have portrayed her as a threat to the American way of life, with Fox News mentioning her 3,181 times in a 42-day period in 2019, often framing her as a radical socialist. Some Democrats, too, have expressed frustration, viewing her as a performer more interested in publicity than pragmatism. A 2023 article in New York Magazine argued that AOC had drifted from her radical roots, becoming a more conventional Democrat by endorsing Joe Biden in 2024, though others see this as a strategic move to build a broader coalition within the party. AOC's evolution and future. By 2025, AOC has shown signs of evolving as a politician. While she remains committed to her core principles, she has also sought to bridge divides, working with Republicans on bipartisan issues like capping credit card interest rates at 10%. In a February 2025 NPR interview, she acknowledged the public's frustration with government, stating, "Everything feels increasingly like a scam," and emphasized the need for Democrats to fight harder for working-class voters. This reflects a maturing approach, balancing her radical vision with a pragmatic understanding of political realities. AOC's radical views challenge the status quo, forcing a reckoning within the Democratic Party about its direction. Her ideas, once dismissed as unworkable, have gained traction, particularly among younger generations who are more open to socialism than capitalism. As she continues to navigate her role, AOC represents a potential future for the party, one that is bold, inclusive, and unafraid to tackle systemic issues head-on. Whether she can translate her vision into lasting change remains to be seen, but her impact on the political landscape is undeniable. Let this exploration inspire you. Change begins with the courage to imagine a better future, dare to dream big. What do you think of AOC's radical views? Share your thoughts, and check back tomorrow for more mind-expanding insights with Mind Expansion Daily.